McGarren Flack with another demonstration on how to use a Photoshop tool. This one we're specifically going to be focusing on the Move tool and the Artboard tool. Here I have a composition that is open. It's at 150 dpi and these various shapes that are sitting around along with this text to kind of show you how this Move tool works. The Move tool is located on the left toolbar. Right here it looks like a nice little cross, and if you left click on it, it will bring up other options, the Artboard tool or the Move tool. As of right now, we're going to focus on the Move tool. Up at the top, once you have the Move tool selected, you have the option bar. You have auto select, layers or groups, show transform controls, and then these other things that are in relation to the artboard. If you have auto select checked, like it is right now, and I come down, you can see off to the right I have these multiple layers. Each shape has their own layer. With auto select, I click on it and it will change the layer selection. If I click on this triangle, it will change the layer. So that way all I have to do is click on the shape that I want to move and I can move it around. Click on this shape and move it around. If you have auto select unchecked, when I try to move this triangle, see what happens. Oh, I'm moving the rectangle. So if I want to try to move the square, I'm moving the rectangle. So I need to go back over here and click on the triangle to move the triangle. This gives you a little bit more control on specific shapes that you're wanting to arrange, especially if you have a shape that is placed under or on top of another shape. The auto select makes it relatively difficult to be able to select the correct layer. But generally speaking, keep the auto select on when you're moving shapes around. It also works with text. So I'm moving the text around. This is a shape. The rectangle is a shape and it will move it around. And then these are just pixels that I have placed in there to be able to move around. So that's the fun thing about shapes. If you're wanting to have an overlay, let's say I take this triangle, place it here, and I want to take this text and place it here, but I want the triangle to be moved behind this rectangle, then all I have to do is go to the right, click on it, drag it below the rectangle, and now it's setting behind it. And I can take that selection tool, select whatever object I want, move it around to the shape that I want. If I want to make a more consistent look with the whole composition, instead of moving around single elements, kind of how I've been doing, then that's when you'd want to use the Artboard tool. So I'm going to go over here to the Artboard tool, select it, and it creates this nice little box. I'm going to left click, drag, and go to the opposing corner and let it go. And now you can see that there's this black box that's sitting around it. This is telling me that whatever is inside this black box is my artboard. That's what I'm visually looking at, and that's where all the shapes will exist in that major shape. If I go back to the Move tool, what will now happen is you can see off to the right hand side I've created an artboard and everything is placed under that artboard. If I hide the artboard, everything disappears because it's all grouped under the artboard. Now, if I'm wanting to make sure that my layers are good in relationship to each other, I'm going to click here on this shape and you can see that these options came about up at the top. These are in relation to the whole artboard. So if I take this rectangle and I want to put it centered at the top and bottom, then I just click on that one. If I want it to go to the top, I click on that one. If I want it on the left side, I can click that. If I want it center for the left and right, click on that. If I want it on the right side, I can click on that. So I could go center here and center there, and now it is completely centered without having to move the shape. I can still use the Move tool and create all of these shapes. I can also move multiple shapes together by going off to the side here in the layers and clicking on one layer and holding Shift to click on another layer, and now those two shapes are combined with each other and I can place them center around each other. See how they're moving around with in relationship to each other. So the artboard works for individual shapes for the whole entire context. If I select multiple, they will be adjusted in relationship to each other. That basically covers the Move tool in the artboard. I'm going to click off here and show you another fun little thing. If I drag and drop this rectangle, I can press Alt, and that will bring up these two little triangles, the white and the black. What this will do is that will copy the shape. And all I have to do with holding down the Alt button is click on the left button and drag. Now I've created two shapes. You can see off to the right, rectangle copy and rectangle one. I can do that again by pressing Alt and left click, drag and drop. Now I have all these multiple rectangles that I can work with. If I click on that and press Shift and click down to the other rectangle, I can now adjust and move these guys around in relationship to each other. Because these options are in relation to these three objects. Now I've built the whole entire line or one box. Okay, so I can select on this, drag out that other shape, select this other row, click and drag out that shape, and now I have these three shapes, and I can make the triangle sit on top of all of those. Maybe drag it down here to find a symmetrical shape and create this layer, drag it above, and have it break through that box. So now I have symmetry with a little bit of asymmetry with auto move. That's the beauty of this tool. So now we've just covered the Move tool and the Artboard tool to be able to create interesting compositions with simple or complex shapes.